Richard van der Laken ist holländischer Designer. In den 1990er Jahren startete er das Designstudio, die Designpolizei und das Designkollektiv Gorilla, das wöchentlich eine gesellschaftskritische grafische Kolumne in einer holländischen Tageszeitung veröffentlicht. 2011 gründete er die What Design Can Do-Konferenz, die den Einfluss von Design auf die Gesellschaft untersucht. In einer alljährlichen Challenge werden Designerinnen und Designer dazu aufgerufen, ihr Können für einen guten Zweck einzusetzen. Heuer sollen dabei kreative Designlösungen gegen den Klimawandel gefunden werden. Neon Green Network begrüßt Richard van der Laken.
Guten Abend, Wien. Es freut mich, hier zu sein. But I will continue in English. I hope that's okay. I also sincerely have to apologize for my yellow suit. It doesn't match with this green dot here, so I'm so sorry. But it's the company suit. My wife always calls me Tweety when I walk around like this. My business partner calls me even a mango. So again, my apologies, and I will give you a few books, some of you. Here you go, as a sort of a, how is it, Wiedergutmachung? Here you go. Do you already have one? I'm happy to hear that. Here you go. Okay. I was asked for this beautiful evening to talk about activism. And what I'm going to show you, in my opinion, it's not really about activism, but it's more about initiating. And I think that's, for designers and for creative people at large, really a very, very important point of view, and really a very important thing to do, that you initiate things. Because when you initiate things, then of course things start to happen. And then you might become an activist or whatever you want to call it. But that for me is always a very important starting point, the designer as initiator. But of course, as many people on this stage and on many stages tend to do, I also am going to give you a bit of a personal introduction. First of all, this is, by the way, not so personal. I have a design studio called the Design Police. I have initiated a platform called What Design Can Do. And I also have been working on a visual column that's called Gorilla. And that's what I will talk about. I will talk about Gorilla, I will talk about what design can do. And in my personal introduction, I will also shed a bit of light on what the stuff that we do as Design Police. But first of all, this personal introduction. Today I'm not alone. I'm here with my children and with my wife, with my best friend Tirso Francis, his wife and his daughters. So we are here with a big group from the Netherlands. But I also have to tell you that my kids are older now. They are here very young. My wife and I looked at this happening. We thought this needs a picture. But we were of course also disturbed. We thought what went wrong here. So we thought we have to confront them with culture. We have to educate them. So we thought, well, let's go to Paris. Let's go to the Louvre, because that's the place where all our, how do you say that? European culture comes together. So we went to the Louvre, and there you can see the Mona Lisa, and somewhere here are my children. So that was a bit difficult. In fact, they didn't like it. Even stronger, they did not like the Louvre at all. And of course, this is funny. These images are funny, but it also really struck me. It intrigued me that one of the icons of European culture, the Louvre in Paris, is in fact not really able to give children, our future, a proper, how do you say that, engagement. It's really difficult for kids to experience the fantastic treasures of the Louvre. So when I got an assignment from the Graphic Design Museum in the Netherlands, yes, we have a Graphic Design Museum in the Netherlands, it's unbelievable, but there is. They asked me and my business partner to come up with an exhibition for kids, to explain children what graphic design is all about. I still am not able to explain my mother what graphic design is all about, so it's a challenge. But I think that we nailed it in a way, because what we said is let's focus on publishing, because graphic design and visual communication, at the end of the road, it's always about publishing. Whether you make a website or a poster or campaigns or a book or etc., it's always about publishing. So the Dutch title, publiceer het maar, in English, just publish it. And what we did is that we had an exhibition room that was, in a way, empty. We had these poster frames, as you can see, and we had on the wall all these iconographic images of, objects that can carry a message. And on the other side of the room, we had this beautiful wall. And the trick is very simple, because what we did is that we painted the whole exhibition room with paint that contains iron. And what you see there on the wall are these very simple cut-out magnets. They're super cheap. You can make them, or of course let them be produced in all kinds of shapes. It's the same material that you use to put a magnet on your fridge. So what we did is we painted the whole room with that iron-containing paint, and we gave kids the opportunity to create their own content, create their own messages. And the funny thing is that when the exhibition opened, they did not tell, the museum did not tell us, but they invited a class, a group of kids. And of course, we were not really prepared for that, because we thought, okay, now we have to explain them how it works. And in fact, those kids came in shouting, running, and immediately they started working, started playing with the material that we gave them. It was so interesting to see that they instantly understood what what our plan was with this exhibition space. And here you see the result. This is what happened. And it makes me super happy, because sometimes it looks fantastic, sometimes it looks totally chaotic, but all those kids have a fantastic time. They are able to publish their own story. The exhibition was a big success. They did it for an extra year, and then they also sold it to several other museums in Europe. So for me, I think a really good example, in fact, about what design can do for children. So having said that, this is something that we did for a client. But the coming two projects that I'm going to focus on, Gorilla and What Design Can Do, is really about self-initiated projects, and of course about the fact that I find that so super important. It's, by the way, funny that you have this green circle, and it's really weird to step out of it. It feels strange, but whatever. The Daily Gorilla. That's a project, it's one of my darlings. It's a project that I have been working on for the past 11 years. And I do that together with a group of designers. We call ourselves Gorilla. And it is a column that we have been making for a newspaper and a weekly magazine. But before I start sharing this project with you, I would also like to show you where we are when it comes to freedom of speech and freedom of information, because that's when it comes to publishing, and when it comes to media, in my opinion, that's what it's all about. What you see here is that the Netherlands is on the 5th place. And when you look back in the past 5 years, you can see that the Netherlands always flips coins with Scandinavia, with Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. And by the way, Austria is here. So we are all, I think, lucky people. I mean, it doesn't really get better than here in Austria, or where I live in the Netherlands. It's a super privileged place, apart from the fact that I'm male, I'm white, and I'm 47 years old, I also live in a country with a super high standard when it comes to freedom of speech. And for me as a designer, as a graphic designer, I think that's super important. I'm sorry, this is by the way how, at the back of the list, how do you say that? The end of the list looks like. So think about that when you live in China or Laos or whatever. Gorilla. Gorilla is again a visual column. There you see an advertisement, but that's the location of the daily gorilla that we made. It looks like this, but well, it doesn't look like this because this was the starting point. When Bush was about to attack Iraq, the second Gulf War, we made this illustration in the Dutch newspaper, the Volkskrant. And it stirred up a lot of discussion. Many people called the newspaper and asked if they could deliver this as a poster and cards. People wanted to share it, which I, of course, found very interesting. It even was used. Somebody sent us this picture. And of course, what really struck me as a designer, that you see that the Pac-Man is not placed on the right. Again, this is what it looks like. You also see that we really have to compete with all the stuff that you see on newspapers, from barcodes to prices, advertising and stuff like that. We make covers for the Groene Amsterdammer. It's sort of the Dutch version of the New Yorker. We have, of course, a website you can visit. And we also make books. So what you can see here is Gorilla for President. It's a collection of the past 11 years. We make t-shirts, because all the stuff that we make is so-called vector-based. That means that you can blow it up until unlimited proportions. We make exhibitions. Now, we do all kinds of stuff with Gorilla. This is, by the way, an exhibition around the British elections. And we make small animations. We also collaborated with Greenpeace in the Netherlands, by the way, for a while. Maybe you know that Rutte is our Prime Minister. This is a bit of a ping-pong refugee between Turkey and the European Union. And I thought maybe it's nice that I show you a little bit of how we make it, because we have to do it in a few hours. The newspaper gives us the three main topics for the front page, and then we have to start working and deliver a gorilla within 3 hours. So what we always start with is just reading. So for example, this one is about wearing a headscarf in Turkish parliament. So what we do, we always use Google to find cliches. Well, I found them. Smiley, we make some ugly sketches, more ugly sketches, and then we have a gorilla. Cold War. We all know this guy. I think he has a very strong, how do you say that? A strong identity for Russia. We all know this, and we thought, okay, how can we merge this? We did this. And we even made one about Austria. Is it spot on? Okay. Well, as you already noticed, we are talking about design now. And what I always find very dangerous is that when we, at large, talk about design, it's very often about exclusive stuff. And it's also about trivial stuff. And that is, as a designer, I always get totally annoyed by that. Because in my opinion, we can use design as a tool to change society. And I'm very super serious about that. And again, it's always has been a big frustration that designers very often come in at the last stage. You should use them in the beginning, because creative thinking, creative people, I think they make change happen. So let's work on that. I did that with an initiative that's called What Design Can Do. But first of all, I would like to explain you a little bit what it is. Okay, what is this difference that design can make? For example, this is Francis Quéré. He is an architect from Burkina Faso. He's trained in Berlin, in Germany. And here he's back in Burkina Faso because there they have sort of nothing. They only have their soil, and they have the people, and they have communities. And of course, many Western organizations tried to do stuff there. They failed. And now Francis is doing it together with the people from Burkina Faso. So what he does is that with these communities, he builds. What he does is that together with them, he makes libraries, he makes schools, he makes all kinds of public buildings, museums, to uplift the culture and identity of Burkina Faso. Just an example, how architecture can make a difference. Bas van Abel, he's the founder of Fairphone, and Fairphone is a truly so-called fair phone. So, for example, what you can see here is that it is designed to repair. I mean, if I use my iPhone and I want to repair it, I can never go back to the Apple store because they will refuse it. Bas offers you a telephone that you can repair and update yourself. Also, he works together with people in many countries. So he takes a very serious look at the whole chain of events. So it's not only about the product, but it's also about the raw materials, the heavy metals that, for example, that you can find in telephones. He makes fair deals with people in the Congo. Well, it's just an illustration of how design can make a difference and how designers can be aware and engaged. And what design can do, I will show you a short video, then you have sort of a grasp of what design can do.
At What Design Can Do, we believe that design is more than making pretty things. Design and creativity have the power to transform societies. Money, the government, science, or the United Nations cannot solve the problems of the world alone. We need design and creativity to come up with alternative strategies, fresh ideas, and provocative thoughts. What Design Can Do organizes annual conferences in Amsterdam, Mexico City, and Sao Paulo. Speakers from all over the world share their visions. What Design Can Do is the perfect place for designers and creatives, as well as businesses, industry, NGOs, and governments to explore and start using design innovation. The What Design Can Do website, blog, and social media are engaged platforms for discussions on design and issues like climate change, social justice, health, and well-being. To actively search for fresh ideas and insights, What Design Can Do organizes global design challenges around the big issues of today. We ask the design community to come up with new answers to questions like the integration of refugees and climate change. We challenge creatives to upload their ideas to our website. An independent jury selects the best ideas to enter an acceleration program to develop them into viable products and business cases. In the near future, What Design Can Do plans a series of local challenges around energy and safety in metropoles on 5 continents, and a new series of conferences is being launched in Mexico City. To see how you can join our movement, visit whatdesigncando.com.
Okay, so how can we activate our international creative community? I don't have a lot of time left anymore, so I will speed up a little bit. But in the last part of my presentation, I would like to focus on the challenges that we initiate. A few years ago, we started with the refugee challenge. With this, I mean that we invite our international creative community to come up with proposals for this very pressing issue. We did that in collaboration, as you can see, with UNHCR and IKEA Foundation. And to give you an idea, this is was the situation in France. This was the situation in the Netherlands. So, again, I always have the feeling that we in the Netherlands, and probably also here in Austria, we can fix almost everything. But then again, I also see, okay, I'm naive. It's not true. Still, a lot has to be done. So what we do when we start these challenges, we first start with proper research, or as we call it, design research. And what we do is that together with a design research agency, we develop research. So here we developed a so-called urban refugee journey. And with this, we located 5 areas where we think that design can make a difference. Something went wrong with the typeface, but still, I think you get a grasp of what I'm talking about. So 5 areas where design can make a difference. We gave that to designers. We got 630 entries from 70 countries. We had 5 winners. I will not dive into the details now, but it really goes from a workshop concept to temporary housing, websites, food projects, etc., etc. Last but not least, last year, because of the success of this refugee challenge, we continued our collaboration with IKEA Foundation and started the Climate Action Challenge. So what can design do to combat climate change? Well, first of all, designers cannot do it alone, but I think they can do a lot. So again, we started with, in a very visual way, mapping all the issues that go around when it comes to climate change. Of course, also, many things have to do with local issues and local solutions. This, of course, resulted again in many entries. And to wrap up this presentation, I thought it would be nice to show you 2 small videos of winning projects. So this one, the first one that I show you is from Spain.
We live in cities surrounded by other people, seeking happiness and working every day for a better future. We are involved by technology, and this way of life is conducting us to change the climate of the planet, endangering ecosystems and ourselves. Can technology solve this problem? Nature already has a solution for this. If trees fix greenhouse gases, why not use the technology to plant 1 million of trees? I'm Lot Amoros, the creator of the Dronecoria project. 5 years ago, we planted the first tree with a drone. Since then, we have researched and released different open source prototypes of the seed dispenser and the drone. With drones, we can make restoration maps, understand the soil, evaluate erosion, drop seeds in the best spots, and control the evolution. We have researched about the power of seed balls with efficient microbiology and the possibilities of massive industrial production. We think that they are an optimal solution for a successful ecological restoration at low cost. We want to step forward, provide tools, create an ecosystem so that any group interested in ecological restoration can do it in a large scale. With open source and digital fabrication, we are not creating a machine to plant thousands of trees. We want to empower thousands of people to plant thousands of trees. Thank you.
It's a nice one. And then, last but not least, because this is my favorite one, it really makes me so happy, I'm leaving you with a small video from India.
Global warming, plastic in the ocean, poop on the zoo. No problem, send us whatever you've got. We'll solve it with deep research. Hello, this is the Weather
we have all types of weather all at the same time.
It's a mess. Everything is ulta-pulta. Plastic in the ocean.
Garbage.
Poop on the street. Poop, poop, poop everywhere. That's why we started the Children's Club in Youth Service. We solve all your problems. Big or small. You send us a problem to solve. While getting unused to. Our reporters are everywhere. We find heroes.
We find answers.
We start tracking movements to change everything. There is no better one than no.
We are TV.
We are online. We are an app called Scrap. Download our app. We are Scrappy. We are a robotics revolution made in India for the world. Where no weather report
We'll never be the
same again. And that's our promise. Be Scrappy.
Great. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Richard. Those were some great ideas you put out there. And as far as I understand it, bureaucrats, state bureaucrats, need to reach out more to the creative community for solutions, right?
That's the goal. Absolutely. I think it's really important that, what I always try to emphasize is that, of course, it's not about design. Design is a tool. And it's really about, of course, how the government, how companies, how the people, citizens, consumers, how everybody work together. But in that whole puzzle, I think that design and creativity at large is super important.
And it can also help to get across more dry subject matter. For instance, divestment. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's very hard to inflame people with that kind of subject matter because it doesn't have sexy motives you can show. That's where you come in and can help, right?
I think that's spot on. It's all about sex at the end.
Yes.
No, but,
I work for private television, so there's no question about it.
What I mean is that it's also really important that you now let me frame it in another way. There is so-called technological innovation, and that's important, but also it's super abstract. And I think that designers and creators at large are very much able to translate this thing that's called technological innovation into visual, tangible, and understandable things and services and objects. And I think that is very important. So that I always call that the seductive power of design is really something that we should not underestimate.
Okay. The What Design Can Do conference you were talking about is happening in Amsterdam in a couple of days, actually. So
yeah,
if you have
25, yes.
Free time for a quick trip, it's on the 24th and 25th of May in Amsterdam. So if you're up for it, go by train. We're at EARTHtalks after all. Book a train ticket and go there.